Our boy is trying to get some work done, but his mind is stuck on a weird thing that happened yesterday and won't let go. Like seriously, what on earth was that thing he saw? And could he just be sleep deprived? Let's go back to when he was relaxing late at night, only for a strange holographic window to suddenly pop into existence right before his eyes. He stares at this thing that looks just like an online shop, wondering if he's going crazy. He taps on the tuna can, but it stays silent because he has no coins left, proving he is still stuck in his dream. But then he scrolls down and finds a zombie skull smashing hammers for 5 coins, which makes him realize this is just like the apocalypse stories he reads. His mind instantly jumps to a full-on zombie horde, which is hardly a relaxing thought for bedtime. But he quickly shakes it off, only to realize with a grimace that he's just tired, making those last words sound a lot like a warning. Just as he's lost in thought, his boss bursts in screaming, "Song Jin Song, you punk!" Chief Choi jumps right into his face, blaming him for slacking off with a classic Monday morning scolding, slams his desk in anger, and demands to know why the client is calling him directly instead. Jeans kept his cool even though the client messed up the paperwork because it wasn't his fault. The boss isn't taking it, and when you talk back, he snarls and steps closer, looking like a guy who holds onto his anger way too long. Just as he was about to go nuclear, a voice interrupted him, and his colleague Cyan stepped in with a sweet smile, holding out a drink. Just like magic, the manager's anger vanishes and turns into a goofy, love-struck grin. Suddenly, his face lit up with a grin as he happily agreed to calm down whenever she told him to. He takes her hand and asks her to dinner, acting all cool and smooth. Then he leans in so close that you can see the cringe on her face. She pulls back with a polite excuse about having plans, which is just office talk for "get away from me." He grudgingly steps back while she gives a quick bow, and for the moment, the danger is gone. She lets out a huge sigh and mouths to Janong, asking if she's crazy for standing up to him. He gives her a grateful nod, sharing a quiet moment of understanding with another hard-working office employee. Later, Jin Song sits on the roof, smoking a cigarette, grumbling about how much he hates his job and boss, but he can't quit because of the bills, proving that the struggle is very real indeed. He thinks he owes Siona a coffee for coming to his rescue. What a true gentleman. And just as we were talking, there she appeared on the roof, calling out to him. He was taken aback to see her, since she doesn't smoke. It turns out she was also running away from the boss's bad temper. Apparently, a client skipped the payment, which has the manager going crazy. She starts complaining about how weird he is because he keeps trying to touch her and asking her out all the time. Then she shivers and complains about the cold, but Janong just shrugs and says it feels nice, completely clueless about her discomfort. She isn't joking. She even reveals goosebumps on her arm right through the fabric of her sleeves. He laughs, but she is dead serious as she pulls out her phone to show him proof. And here's the kicker. There's a post called "Snow in Africa" with a picture to prove it. Now Jinong is sweating. Is this real? Snow in Africa. He admits something feels wrong, and just as the question buzzes on his phone, an emergency alert pops up on hers too. He thinks it's a glitch, but another one arrives, and things are getting really strange. An official warning has been issued for a sudden, massive drop in temperature. It's a freezing blast right in the middle of June, which is absolutely ridiculous. And then, as if the world is playing a prank on them, a lone snowflake lands right in his palm. He just stares at it, totally shocked, while Siona grumbles about how freezing it is. Both of them glance upward and realize, yes, it is truly snowing. That night, the whole city was wrapped up in a heavy summer snow. Jin Song climbs back onto the roof, convinced that the whole world has finally lost its mind. The cold wind got so biting he called it quits and beat the rush hour traffic home. But when he reached the elevator, there was nothing. He tries to mash the button, but it's stuck, which is just great. With his butt freezing up, he decides to quit and heads for the stairs. As he walked down the stairs, his mind drifted back to that creepy status window from last night. Then he hears the elevator doors shutting right behind him, and he can't help but ask, what the? He turns around to think, oh, guess it is working now, and rushes to grab it, but the doors keep slamming shut and opening all by themselves while the hallway falls into a scary silence. The lights start to flicker and then go out, leaving him in total darkness. When the lights went out, he got spooked and decided to grab his bag and run. As he walked through the dark office, he heard a sound like metal scraping on the floor. That noise made his skin crawl, so he grabbed his stuff and bolted, swearing he'd never die today. He tiptoed back to his desk, holding his breath so no one would hear him. He insists others are here, yet the office is empty, and things are getting worse every second. When he reached his desk, he found it a total mess, as if everyone had fled in a panic. He shouts, "Anyone here?" but gets only silence back, which is definitely not a good sign. A horrible scraping sound fills the messy room as his danger senses tingle, So he grabs his backpack and tries to run, but then he freezes in fear at the lurching, twisted shadow now dancing on the wall. And he's gone, sprinting through the dark without looking back, but he glances at the conference room one last time, knowing for sure something is inside. Just as his foot slips on something slick, he looks down to see a pool of blood and a fallen employee ID card before he stumbles. He kicks up his foot, leaving a perfect bloody print in the dirt that makes everyone shudder. He grabs the card, which belongs to his friend Kim Hyun-ok, and it is completely soaked in blood. His mind screamed, "What in the world happened here?" just as a footstep echoed, signaling that someone was right there. His eyes dart toward the noise, cutting through the dark. He peeks through the blinds of a nearby door, trying to catch a glimpse of whatever is outside. And folks, what he's seeing is a complete nightmare. A monster is hunched over a dead body, tearing at its flesh, just as I told you. Janong freezes in shock, whispering, "What a big mistake," as the creature lifts its bloody head to reveal that Kim Hun's face has been replaced by a monster's glowing dead eyes. Their eyes meet in a horrifying second, which is all it takes for Janong to turn and run for his life. The thing that used to be Hennock lunges after him, stumbling down the hall. Just as he wonders if the icy grip on his shoulder belongs to a zombie, the monster leaps at him without a second to think. Absolute panic takes over as he screams inside, wondering what that thing is, but the rush of adrenaline kicks in and he frantically searches the dark office for anything to use as a weapon. He grabs an office chair and goes full-on office warfare, screaming "Die!" as he stumbles into the stairwell, heart racing and lungs burning from the chaos. He glanced back quickly to see the zombie shuffling away, and he sighed in relief, thinking it had finally lost interest. He slides down the dark wall as the horrifying truth hits him. He just hit his co-worker with office furniture. Right as his brain scrambled to think of the word zombies, his phone started buzzing, proving once again that timing can be anything but perfect. An emergency alert sounds the warning that a strange, mutated kind of rabies is spreading, and people are now calling it that. Rabies? He doesn't believe it for a second. It's completely crazy. He is suddenly transported back to the face of that terrifying dog, because rabies doesn't give you glowing eyes or make you look like a monster from a horror movie. So, just like any of us, he sits in the dark and endlessly scrolls through sad news, desperate for answers. The internet is a total mess, so when people talk about bites, strange acting, and sudden snow, he knows it must be that same weird status window he saw yesterday. He keeps looking around, hoping to find a status window or a shop window. The internet's reaction was a huge, loud no. Suddenly, his phone screen melts away into a fuzzy mess of static. Well, that's definitely not a good sign at all. And there it was, the two scariest words in our modern world, connection lost. He's all by himself with no internet or help, leaving him to wonder what he's supposed to do. The full weight of everything just crashes down on him, and yeah, my dude, we are so screwed. And on top of that terrible news, the air is so freezing cold you can actually see the white mist of his breath floating around. He is curled up on the stairs, shaking violently, and if he doesn't find warmth soon, he'll freeze solid before a zombie can even spot him. He can't just give in to death, so he forces himself up, driven by the need to find supplies and avoid freezing. He glances at his phone and sees 83% battery left, which he hopes will carry him 2 days and give rescuers enough time to find him. Feeling a spark of hope again, he decides to check out the other floors. He climbs to the 7th floor office, shines his phone like a flashlight into drawers, and starts grabbing anything useful he can find. Success! He quickly slips on a clean shirt, feeling proud of this small win before turning his urgent hunt toward the main course food. Just as he's searching, he spots a bag full of snacks, a thermos, and a blanket, proving that someone was definitely prepared. He doesn't know who left this emergency stash, but he's super thankful and says a quiet thank you to that mystery coworker. Now that he has food and warmth, all that stands between him and a complete apocalypse starter pack is a weapon. He peeks in the manager's office and finds a bag of golf clubs, realizing finally that the executive is good for something. Armed and ready, he believes he can hold out for 3 days, but he's still waiting to see if anyone is coming to save him. He spots a tiny window to peek outside, and the harsh truth hits him hard like a slap. Down below, the streets are a total war zone filled with hordes of zombies, burning cars, and a raging blizzard. So no helicopter is coming to save us, and hope is fading as the cold suddenly feels much worse. Just as he was ready to quit, a bright blue screen suddenly appeared right before his eyes. She stares into the shop window, eyes widening as she sees winter clothes hanging there for just 3 coins. There's just one tiny problem with this brilliant plan. How exactly do you get the coins? He gazes down at the chaos on the streets, and you can see his mind working hard to figure it all out. Something very dangerous is beginning to take shape in his mind. And that's it. The choice is made, so it's time to get back to grinding for some coins. He hides up the stairs and waits for the perfect moment to spring his surprise. With his golf club held tight and ready, he stands waiting for his prey to appear. He hears a sound coming from the floor below. The doorknob is spinning, and the game has begun. He holds the golf club like it's his only lifeline, bracing himself to swing at whoever steps through the door. The door creaks open, and he steps through without a second thought. He rushes forward to smash his club down with all his strength, but a terrified scream cries out, "Wait, stop." Oh, that definitely doesn't sound like a zombie. Janong halts his swing right before it connects, locks eyes with the guy, and says, "Huh, Kim Jan." "Oh, it's that annoying guy from work." "Well, this is awkward," they say as they sit down for a quick chat. Jumin admitted to hiding in the break room and asked how Janong managed to survive. Jin Sangong's reply didn't really help us out. Jumin changed the topic and asked if he had any food, claiming he was about to starve to death. Janong quickly lies and says no, adding, "Sorry, pal, but these are emergency rations, every man for himself." Just as he reaches for some water, Jumin suddenly grabs his wrist with a grip so strong he wasn't expecting it. Jumin's face darkens into a scary shadow as he asks again, "You sure you don't have any?" While Janong stares back, overwhelmed by a chill of fear that this guy is terribly wrong. Janong's eyes narrow at the guy who's supposed to be freezing but is sweating like crazy, which is a huge red flag. Before he can even understand what's happening, Jumin jumps at him, snarling like a fierce monster, just like we expected. Thinking fast, Janong smashes the heavy thermos right into Jumin's face, bam. He stumbles back, club raised, shouting "Kim Jumin" as the man is slammed to the floor. But the man on the ground is changing fast, his skin turning dark and his eyes going white, even though he was perfectly fine just a second ago. Janong has no time to think, so he grips his club tight, grits his teeth, and swings with everything he's got. He lets out a raw, animalistic scream as he slams the club down over and over again. It is a wild and bloody rampage. Finally, the brutal work is done, and the bloody club lies on the floor beside the remains of Jumin. Janong pants and struggles to catch his breath as the full horror of what just happened finally hits him. Suddenly, a familiar chime rang out, turning his screen blue and bringing up his mini-map. His eyes go wide with shock as the status window appears, just as it always does right after a fight ends. Janong stares at the holographic shop window, which is back again. And what is his total? Just a single coin. You get 1 coin for every zombie you kill? Really? That's a hard pill to swallow right now. He almost died out there for nothing but a single meme coin, and that exchange rate is pretty terrible. But then his 2 brain cells finally started clashing together. Something feels wrong, so he looks over at his former colleague's body. And there it was, clear as day, fresh bite marks right on Jumin's wrist. Janong lets out a heavy sigh, realizing the man was already infected before he even arrived, and that's that. He takes a minute to catch his breath by slumping into an office chair and lighting a cigarette he found earlier, a classic stress response. He knows he can't believe anyone anymore, but hey, that cigarette is pretty good, so it's a small victory, right? And, just as expected, he's digging through a bag when a whole pack of cigarettes spills out like a miracle from the end of the world. He sighs to himself that in this mess, taking what you can get is all you can do, but a loud groan from outside snaps him back to reality and tells him he can't stay here. He looks out the window with a determined grin, showing everyone he's ready to keep going. His mind flashes back to the guy with a baseball bat he saw earlier, swinging wildly through the horde. It's a brave attempt, but there are simply too many of them to make any difference. And just like that, he gets swarmed and torn apart, becoming another victim of the dust. Now he's just another empty shell waiting to rise up and throw a party with the zombies in this endless loop of being dead. Back in the present, Ginseng turns away from the window with a grimace and mutters, "Darn it." And so time moves on, turning the day into night. The night faded into morning, marking the start of our 3rd day in this apocalypse. The phone is flickering at just 3% battery, and all he has left to eat are a few sad chocolate bars. For days, he has watched from his window as every failed escape attempt ends in a bloody disaster. Even with all that, our boy has made his choice. He's got to get moving because he can't just stay sitting there. He knows that staying still is just a slow way to die, so his only real hope is to find others and team up to survive. He tosses his well-worn golf bag onto his shoulder and finally sets off. The first stop is the 6th floor, where he must check if Jumin really did block the door as he said. But as he steps into the hallway, something catches his eye, and he looks up, completely confused, wondering, fire! He shouts as the emergency lights blaze on, signaling that only one thing could possibly be true. "No way," he shouted, and instantly sprinted to the window to get a better look at what was going on. He looks down at the dark, snow-covered city below, a grim sight, But then he realizes something strange. Even though it is pitch black outside, he can still see his own reflection because the office lights are on. The emergency generator is running, which means someone else is in this building with him. A giant wave of hope crashes over him because he knows someone else is alive in here, but that generator won't last forever, so he has to find them before time runs out. He rushes straight to the stairs while frantically trying to find them. So, the management office or the security room on the first floor make the best choice, and that's a solid plan. But his fancy shoes are making too much noise, so he takes them off and switches to stealth mode. The floor is ice cold, but it's better than being zombie food, so he slides down the stairs in just his socks. He reaches the landing on the 6th floor and stops for a moment. It was time to rush over and check on the barricade he had been told about. He peeked through the door and saw that the elevators were completely jammed with desks and chairs, turning the whole place into a fortress. A huge grin spreads across his face because this giant barricade means there might be a whole group of survivors hiding behind it. All right, the side quest is done, and he keeps moving down to the first floor to get back to the main goal. The stairwell is empty, which feels like a small victory, yet he knows the lobby below is likely overrun by zombies, so he creeps toward the door with extreme caution. He takes a long breath, turns the knob while whispering for the room to be empty, and then pushes the door open just a crack to look into the lobby covered in blood. And naturally, it's a party with a massive crowd just hanging out. The whole lobby is crammed wall to wall with zombies shuffling past the turnstiles like it's just another normal Tuesday. He slams the door shut, knowing that stepping outside would be like buying a one-way ticket to Deadsville. To make matters worse, the zombies outside are hammering on the glass doors, and that glass won't last long. The clock has run out, so he has to leave right now. He sees the sign for the management office and dashes toward it. Inside, he spots the body and knows it instantly. It's the friendly security guard who always greeted him every morning. The poor guy is frozen solid, and Janong recalls reading that some people dying from the cold take off their clothes, which is a tragic way to go. He softly shuts his eyes to honor the man and wishes him peace in the afterlife. But there's no time to cry, so the only place left to look is the security room. He realizes living people can be just as dangerous as the undead, so he must stay on his guard and perhaps wave a white flag to show he means no harm. Just outside the room, a few zombies are hanging around, with one of them draped so grossly over a cubicle wall that you can't help but grimace. He remembers that their eyes are bad, but their ears are perfect, so he taps his fingers together to get into the zone. He takes one last deep breath and then very slowly, with great care, starts to open the door. The door creaks open, and his eyes go wide with total shock at what waits for him on the other side. All right, here comes the big test. Janong takes a deep breath and slowly pushes open the security room door. The moment he steps inside, a sharpened wooden pole shoots straight at his face. Whoa! Jin Song hears the attack coming and braces himself just in time. His attacker is another survivor, a nervous guy with glasses who looks just as shocked, and we get a quick flashback to show why he's so ready to fight. That bloody zombie encounter would really scare you. Back in the present, Jin Song dodges another wild swing and zips past him into the room. Then, with a snap, the door clicks shut and locks them inside. Now there are only two guys left, staring each other down with weapons they made themselves, and the tension is thick enough to cut. Jinsen nervously asks the big question, and luckily, neither of them answers as a zombie. The guy says he came looking for others after the emergency generator flickered on, bringing a little spark of hope into the darkness. Janong introduces himself with his ID, but he's still super paranoid after what happened with Jan, so he trusts nobody. The assistant manager, Cho Ji-young, instantly spots the shawl as the perfect disguise for hiding bite marks. He studies the man, noticing that unlike the sweaty, sick Jumin, this one feels cold, which causes the paranoia meter to drop a bit. He spots a backpack nearby and realizes who left it there. He must have broken into the break room to grab some free snacks. Since those infected are so hungry, only the smart humans would be the ones hoarding supplies. Janong reached out with a friendly smile, but Zhang jerked back as if he'd touched a hot stove, proving his social skills are completely broken. Janong realizes his mistake and wonders how you even break the ice when zombies are around and small talk is just dead. He drops his club and drifts back to the good old days when a smoke break was the perfect fix for any awkward office moment. And then, just like that, a brilliant idea pops into his head. Maybe lighting a cigarette is the ultimate way to call for peace. He quickly pulls out a pack and holds out a cigarette to the nervous survivor. The ultimate brother move is to take a drag. Jung just stares at the pack with his glasses hiding his eyes, making the wait feel like an eternity. He thought about the offer, and as he watched, his tight hold on that rough spear slipped just enough for him to lower it and say yes. Sure, can I have one? We dodged a bullet, everyone. The tension vanished after Janong tossed out his cigarette and joked that they'd be fine, causing Jung to laugh before grumbling, which only made Janong's stomach betray him with a loud growl, proving that surviving as a guest makes you hungry. Jising tells him to hold on and dives into his backpack, which, as expected, is packed with snacks from a lounge. He tears open a block of instant ramen, breaks it in two, and hands a piece to Janong, ready to turn it into a 5-star meal in the middle of the apocalypse. Janong gratefully accepts and starts crunching on the dry noodles, remembering that, hey, food is food, my friend. As he eats, he asks if Sung cleared out the entire second floor, and Jung confirms that he did. Now that the ice is broken and they're sharing food, they finally feel at ease. Janong asks what's going on, and Jong admits that things aren't going well. Jeong shares his heartbreaking tale of how he and a co-worker were stuck in a lounge and had to split their last meal to survive. While his friend grew impatient and demanded they flee, Jae-sung, the clever one, argued they should stay and wait for help. The second his friend walked out, he was struck down and his cries of pain bounced off the office walls. That's rough, buddy. Janong's face darkens as Jeong calmly says he counted about 4. And when Janong asks if that's right, Jeong just shrugs and says, just 4? That's easy. He had to leave the lounge to escape before his phone died. He made a big fuss to draw everyone's attention so the army could sneak right past them. Janong is truly amazed because slipping past 4 of those threats feels like you were playing a master-level stealth game. He confirms that Sung started the generator and points to a power strip, explaining he only needed to charge his devices. Sung doesn't see the fuss, but Jainung is totally shocked after you've been living without the internet this whole time. Janong claims there's no signal, but then Jising drops a bombshell. You might know Starlink, the satellite internet that actually works. Our boy's mind is absolutely blown as Sung reveals that even though most servers are down, a few online communities for survivors are still active. Janong is totally blown away because he has no idea what's going on. Jang even offers to charge his phone for him, and it actually works, letting him see messages from those who are still alive, which is a total game changer. He thanked Jing for the money, the internet, and all the help, feeling like a huge weight had finally been lifted off his shoulders. Right as they get comfortable, the lights start to buzz and then go dark. Well, the generator ran out of gas, so that plan is over. Jong wonders what Jin Sung will do next. He knows exactly what he wants and isn't walking out of this room until it's done. Janong caught my meaning immediately. So you're telling me you want me to go, which isn't exactly subtle, buddy. But he finally gets it. This guy is trying to wait it out, and a partner who just takes his food is a liability. Besides, Jinong is eager to keep moving and won't sit around waiting. So they just aren't right partners for surviving together. They've decided it's time to go their separate ways. So, I'm leaving and Janong agrees that this is the right choice. Jong nods, but as Janong turns to leave, Jong stops him and reaches into his pack one last time. Right as our boy is about to go, Jong gives him a flashlight and an extra battery to take with him. Janong is truly surprised and thankful, especially since these items are now priceless with the power completely gone. Janong gives Jung the rest of his cigarettes to make it even, which seems like a fair swap to me. Jung gratefully takes what he needs, knowing it will keep him company during the long, boring wait ahead. Once their business was done, Janong finally left the room. Jae soon smiles and hopes that luck will guide him as he steps out into the dark. As Janong steps out the door, he whispers a quiet hope that their paths might cross again, wondering with a smile if fate truly has that kind of magic up its sleeve. He sprints hard through the dark hallway, fighting to outrun the flickering lights going out. He looks back with a sigh of relief to see the glass door still keeping the few zombies outside. Hearing their groans, he tightens his grip on his golf club and ducks into the emergency stairwell to stay safe. He thinks about a new way out, and since his company car is hidden in the basement, he realizes it might just be the key to escaping this trouble. He knows he must escape the building soon, but he's not sure if this is the right moment to go. He decides to stay, knowing that running away right now would be too reckless. Instead, he decides to head up the stairs first. Now he plans to sneak back up to the other floors and gather some secrets before he tries to make a run for it. Then the emergency lights finally fade, leaving him in total blackness because the generator has stopped working for good. He snatches the flashlight from Jeong and flips it on, letting its bright beam slice through the darkness. Now he moves slow and careful, smart enough to know the zombies might have moved in the dark, as he climbs past the 4th and 5th floors to reach the 6th. He's closing in, but right when he's almost there, he feels something moving on the floor above, probably a zombie. His eyes tighten with a grim resolve, knowing there is no way back now. He squeezes his club tighter, bracing himself to push forward into whatever waits for him in the dark. Our boy stands in a pitch-black stairwell when a scary growl suddenly echoes from above. And check out what we've got here. A zombie drenched in blood shuffles into sight, moaning like she just bumped her toe, which is real charming. Jinong, swinging a golf club and convinced he's reached the roof, is actually just a fool. He tries to go full ninja mode, tiptoeing in his socks to sneak past the noise, which seems like a solid plan until you see how it really plays out. Yeah, that didn't work because the zombie lunges out of the dark with her mouth wide open, ready to eat a whole watermelon. Our hero's face showed a mix of shock and regret as he realized he had made a terrible mistake, and his adrenaline began to surge. He lets out a loud, very manly yell and swings the golf club right at her face like he's trying to score a hole-in-one. There was a sharp crack as the club hit her chin dead on, and that has to be incredibly painful. The force of the hit sent her flying backward and slamming hard into the wall, and Jin Sang hits the home run. She screams in terror until her face looks like a scary painting made of blood and broken teeth. He roars with fury and brings the club down for another swing, but whoops, it snaps right in half. It turned out the putter wasn't built for killing zombies like a pro tool. He's gasping for air, feeling like his heart might burst, and wondering if it's finally over, but knowing it never is easy because the hand twitches again and he realizes it's still moving. So he jumps on top and starts pounding its skull with the broken club head as things get really dark very quickly. Let it all end, he yells. Today is just a terrible day for someone. Finally, a tiny chime rang out, and he was left with just one coin, as worthless as a piece of gumball money. Totally exhausted, the shop window pops up, leaving him with just 2 coins that feel like a fortune. He's grinding through all that hard work just for a single coin, because in this apocalypse, the struggle is very real, buddy. But hey, loot is loot, so he tucks the bloody club head into his pocket, figuring who knows when a broken golf club might come in handy. He looks at the dead body in her bag, guessing if she had anything better to give him. He pushes against the rooftop door, but it stands locked tight, suggesting she slipped in from one of the upper floors. And that's bad news, proving the 7th floor isn't the safe haven he thought it was, which is a real letdown. So he dives into a nearby office to catch his breath and maybe regret every choice he's ever made. He takes a quick drink from his thermos and begins studying the fight as if he's watching a replay. He realized that thing was way too fast for a normal person, moving like a wild animal fueled by energy drinks. He knows that facing 2 enemies at the same time means it's game over. He either needs some friends or has to be very careful when he argues. With a mix of hope and habit, he pulls out his phone to check for any good news, knowing the Wi-Fi still works. He stumbles upon the Survivor Gallery, a grim, post-apocalyptic mess of online forums where desperate people share their stories. The cheerful posts are filled with stories of freezing pipes and goodbyes after zombie bites. But since there is no new information about the zombies, he is just watching everyone else suffer. All of this comes straight from the Zombie Survival 101 guide. They love a loud racket, aim straight for the head, and never get bit. Got it? The rest of the forum is just a mess of people spamming send help, which isn't getting anyone anything useful. And then the truth strikes him like a hammer. The government is gone. No one is coming to save them, so they're all alone. He knows they must survive alone in this broken world, and the crushing hopelessness is finally taking hold. Then a loud sneeze shatters the quiet, showing that the cold has finally caught up to him. It's the 5th day, and he's shaking so hard you can't even call in sick when the world is ending, buddy. In this world, catching a simple cold could be your death sentence. With no pressure on him, he starts doing jumping jacks to warm up, thinking that a quick workout is the best way to forget about those flesh-eating monsters. But his stomach growls loudly, cutting the workout short as if his whole body is refusing to go on. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a chocolate bar. He knows he ought to save the food, but his body is crying out for a snack right now. He slips off his noisy shoes and moves through the room like a silent ghost. He needs real food, so remembering Jung's tip about the break room, he heads out for a quick snack run. The only catch is that the break room sits inside the development team's office, the very spot where that last zombie appeared. To make things even worse, he's almost certain at least 4 more zombies are hanging out in there, but he's cool with that. There's no way to sneak past so many people. He'll have to take them out one by one, just like climbing a boss level in a real-life video game. He peeks around the corner and sees one trainee in Development Room 1 and another in Development Room 2. And the third one just wanders around the new business team's area, making the whole office feel like a full-on zombie party. But wait, where's the 4th one? It's way spookier when a zombie just vanishes without a trace. He knows another one is hiding out there, and a broken golf club won't be enough to stop it. He peeks through the break room window and sighs in relief, seeing that it's empty for the moment. He slips inside, and relief washes over him as he sees the supplies are still untouched. It's all about those small wins, you see. Then he hears it, the heavy stomp of footsteps right outside the door, signaling that the party is finally over. It's one of the zombies, Perfect, and now it's time to put his big brain plan into action. He agreed, then popped the battery from his flashlight, making it seem like he was setting a trap. The search begins as he tosses the battery down the dark hallway, where its small clatter bounces back in the quiet. Just as he expected, a zombie lunges from the shadows with a growl, but Jinong is ready and drives a sharp rod straight through its head. Blood sprays into the air as the zombie collapses to the ground. One is done, but there are still a few more to take on. Peeking around the corner, he spots the next two targets drawn in by the noise and heading straight for him. Then he comes up with a crazy, gross idea. He shoves the dead body into the hallway while the other two start eating it. He thinks it's perfect because his guy is using zombies to fight other zombies, which is a brilliant idea. He breathes hard, but lets out a small, grim smile because the plan is finally working. He thought he had one, until a rotting hand burst from under the door and yanked at his ankle, proving once again that things are never as easy as they seem. Just as Jinon believes he has cleared the room, a classic jump scare strikes. A zombie hidden under a desk suddenly lunges out and grabs his ankle. It opens its mouth wide to take a bite, revealing a scary mess of blood and broken teeth that really needs a dentist. Thinking fast, our boy Jin-sung, who is still using his mouth to hold a flashlight, violently kicks his leg back. The flashlight fades away, but that doesn't matter because his foot smashes right into the zombie's face. He ends it with a heavy stomp right on its hand. You can almost hear the satisfying crunch as its grip finally snaps. With pure rage burning in his eyes, he lifts the broken golf club one more time, knowing this fight is now about him alone. He keeps smashing the thing's head over and over until it finally stops moving, which is pretty much the definition of overkill. Panting hard and covered in blood, he can only mutter, "Freaking hell," which pretty much says it all, my friend. But you know the rules, because it's never just one zombie coming after you. Suddenly, something else from the dark jumps at him. He snatched the broken club head off the floor in a flash. He knows he has to wrap this up quick before everyone in the building hears him. He pulls back and tosses the heavy piece of metal through the air, just like he's throwing a baseball. Bam! The object crashes right into a zombie's face, knocking it backward into its friend for a perfect chain reaction. Another zombie lunges at him, but Jin-sang pulls off a pro move by shining his flashlight directly into its eyes. Totally lost, the creature trips over a desk and knocks a pen to the floor. Seeing his moment, Jin-sung strikes like a boss, knocking the zombie off balance and stabbing the pen straight into its neck, only to realize his new weapon is useless, but then a pop-up appears telling him he's got 4 coins and it's time to start earning more. He stares sadly at his broken golf club, but remember, buddy, this is a zombie apocalypse, so you'll find another one soon. Now for the best part of any fight, the loot drop. He snatches a backpack off one of the dead bodies. The bag was so unexpectedly heavy that with no weapons left, he thought about leaving. But since he was already there, he decided to keep looking around, even though his reasoning was a bit strange. He recalls that his co-worker only looked in the break room, so the other offices are still like untouched treasure chests waiting to be opened. And to top it all off, he spotted a power bank and some health supplements, thinking he'd better start building up his apocalypse gains. Feeling lucky, he pushes forward to check the next office, only to find out the hard way that this kind of adventure never ends well. Suddenly, a loud noise freezes him in his tracks because another zombie is right there, and he has no weapons at all, which is a terrible mistake. Knowing he'd had enough chances, he spins around and runs away without another second to lose. He finally pauses to catch his breath, holding that backpack so tight against his chest as if it were his own child. He lets out a dark chuckle, wondering who would have thought their office would become the safest place on Earth. Shaking off the strange feelings, he finally decides it's time to check out his loot. He scored big with a king-size feast of chips, chocolate pies, cookies, 5 cups of ramen, and even a soda. He bursts out laughing, convinced that a month of junk food will keep him going, and sure, buddy, that's a great plan. But as the rush wears off, a cold fear takes its place. His feet are soaked and covered in blood, making it even harder to move. He fixes his appearance and walks to the office bathroom. It's time to relax with a little spa day after the world ended. Of course, the water was freezing cold, and he screamed in shock because there were no hot water heaters in this new world. As he dries himself off, he spots a tiny dark scratch on his foot and feels a chill. His heart drops like a stone, and he can't help but wonder if a zombie has finally caught him. He remembers the moment, but he's pretty sure he never got bitten. Sure enough, he did exactly what anyone would do. He pulls out his phone to check the survivor forum. He finds the post that confirms he's safe, because you only need to turn if you were bitten, and since he was just scratched, everything is okay. He lets out a huge sigh of relief, but that just means his real trouble is about to start. He gazes at the crude patch he made to cover his wound. The cold has turned deadly, and he's about to freeze his skin. He needs to get warm quickly, So he calls out to the shop, knowing he only has 6 coins left. He remembers spotting a full set of winter gear for sale, with each piece costing just 3 coins. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't afford all of it, especially since the gloves cost as much as a whole jacket, so he reluctantly bought the boots. In an instant, a pair of striped winter boots simply appeared out of nowhere. He grabs them with a look of pure amazement, realizing the magic shop really works. He slips on a pair that fits perfectly and assumes they were made just for him. A handy trick, though he knows new boots won't stop the pain in his wound, so what else is hiding in this strange apocalypse shop? He kept scrolling through the list, only to find nothing but junk. There's nothing that can help heal the injury. Right when he's about to quit, his eyes catch something that makes his face light up, because this is it. Janong clicks the button, hoping he isn't throwing his hard-earned coins away on a bad deal. Before he could even blink, a coin vanished from his balance, and the purchase was done. But now the big question remained, what exactly had he bought? For the crazy price of a whole coin, a wave of warm bliss finally hits Janong's feet, bringing him pure relief. With the heat spreading around him, a real smile finally breaks out on his face. Look at that. For the first time in ages, my guy thinks he might actually make it. He sits alone, staring out at the frozen city like a lonely star in a sad song. But on the 7th day, that brief comfort is torn apart when he reaches for a drink and finds the water has suddenly stopped. Luckily, he managed to fill a few thermoses with his meager 2-liter supply, which was all he had left. At best, there's just enough water to keep him going for 3 or 4 more days, and the future looks pretty bleak, my friends. Right when things start to look good, the universe knocks him back down. He crashes to the ground and immediately starts doom scrolling through the survivor forums. And just like that, he's not so special after all, because posts from others are confirming that water is being cut off everywhere, proving that misery truly loves company. He stumbles on a wild post from a lunatic threatening to storm a supermarket with nothing but a frying pan. The man's last words are a classic. I'm heading out and I'll write again if I make it. But the truth is he likely won't. As Janong keeps scrolling, he starts to notice something scary. The new posts are slowly disappearing. He reaches a bleak realization that they are likely all dead, and the response he gets is, "You don't say." He can't see a single living thing outside the window, so he curls up in a blanket like a sad burrito and tries to stay hopeful. On the 8th day, he checked the frying pan guy's post again, only to see the comments confirm the worst and realize the man had vanished. With his hope finally running out, Janong knows he can't just stand there and freeze solid. He knows that going out by himself means almost certain death, so he must find another survivor to become his ally no matter what it takes. But to move, he needs a weapon, so he grabs another golf club, only to realize how flimsy it is and watch it snap after just a few kills. Right at corner Q, a shop window displays a scary spiked hammer for sale, but he only has 2 coins while it costs 5. He just laughs at the cost, knowing that 5 coins could buy real winter clothes and another of those amazing hot packs. He chose to try the old-fashioned way, so he made his way to the 4th floor to look for supplies and began checking the area one careful step at a time. He walks into the empty office and gets a sudden chill, wondering why no one is around. His flashlight cuts through the dark to show blood splattered all over a desk. Then he suddenly smells something familiar and terrible hanging in the air. The air is thick with the stench of the dead. With no bodies in sight, he's left scratching his head, completely baffled by what just happened here. He spots a locked door and tests the handle, wondering if a survivor is hiding inside. But when he presses his ear to it, all he hears is silence. Okay, he has decided to stop being so careful. With a mighty swing of his golf club, he shatters the handle and blasts the door wide open. The door creaks open, and what lies inside leaves him completely speechless. Before you lies a terrifying, towering pile of twisted zombie bodies. There are at least 10 of them piled up in the corner. He stood frozen, wondering who in the whole company was this amazing, and realizing that if he could just find this person to join forces, he'd feel completely safe. But then he looked around, and it finally clicked. This guy didn't just kill zombies, he wiped the whole place clean of supplies. He swept the flashlight beam across the break room. It was a completely empty place, and honestly, we had just wasted our time for nothing. He can't figure out who was so careful. As he reaches for a random mug, something inside starts to rattle against the ceramic. It's a note saying the writer took everything and left a pile of zombies in the senior managing director's office. The note also warns him to stay away from the 5th floor, telling him the writer already left yesterday on day 8 at 10 o'clock in the morning. Darn it, he just missed them, but the note signed by Yun Hayek, a colleague who always bragged about being in the special forces, finally made it all click. Right when he was about to put the note away, he noticed a PS written on the back. Jay left a little surprise in a drawer just for whoever found it. Janong excitedly yanks open the drawer to find just 2 single packets of instant coffee, lets out a dry, unimpressed laugh, and thinks, what a troll. 2 days later, on the 10th day of survival, Janong chews on a snack and rereads the note, thinking hard about the warning for the 5th floor. Why stay away when the 5th floor holds the president's office, which should be the safest spot in the whole building? Still, Hi-Oh Guy isn't the kind of guy to give a warning unless he has a very good reason. But more than that, it's been a whole day since he saw another living soul, and the loneliness is starting to hit him hard. He knows that as each second ticks by, the chance of finding a friend grows smaller and smaller. He had already let one chance to team up with a Chad slip away, so he decided to start looking on the other floors right away. With so many floors left to check, he doesn't know where to start until a tiny flicker of light outside suddenly catches his eye. Hold on, did you see that flash of light? He dashes to the window, his heart hammering against his ribs. Someone out there is broadcasting a message, and they aren't by themselves. Just as Jin Sung thinks he's completely alone, a bright light suddenly shows up. Could it be that someone else is actually awake in this nightmare? But who is it? Someone is holding up a sign, but it's so far away that the words are impossible to read, just like the worst kind of trouble in a world going to hell. Then a bright idea sparked in his big head, and for once, it was actually a good one. He pulls out his phone and zooms in with the camera. Thank goodness for modern tech, don't you think? The note wasn't a party invite, but a challenge. 2 folks on the 6th and 7th floors wanted a partner, so our hero grabbed his golf club, raced to the 6th floor, and was ready to make some new friends. But when he arrives, he sees the door is wide open, and now he's in trouble. That usually isn't a good sign when things like this happen. He sneaks inside, shouting that he's just a friendly neighborhood sales guy, but nobody buys that lie. He is suddenly swallowed by silence, spots the door blown open, and feels the dread inside him growing much worse. And right on cue, a dark figure leaps out from behind him to pull off a classic jump scare. Suddenly, a zombie tackles him to the ground, ready to eat him. He's fighting for his life, swinging his golf club like a weapon to keep the beast's teeth at bay. With a huge burst of adrenaline, he kicks the zombie clean off him and gets wrecked. The thing is on the floor, twitching like a glitchy video game character that hasn't crashed out yet. Phew, Janong is drenched in sweat and gasping for air after a race that was way too close for comfort. He sees his opening and yanks a cabinet panel right off for a quick fix. He smashes it on the zombie's head, the system beeps, and suddenly you have -1 coin. He was certain a survivor was hiding right there, but now it felt like he'd been tricked while zombies were running wild all around him. But then he hears it, a clank from behind the door, proving the lies were false all along. He sneaks toward the door, trying one more friendly hello to show he wants to join the team, not steal anything. Still nothing. So he tries pulling the co-worker card, announcing he's on the sales team too, hoping maybe they'll bond over bad coffee. No dice. He's done being nice, and if they don't open up, he'll turn this door into a Kool-Aid Man's mess. Just as he lifts the club, a sudden voice stops him. Could you be assistant manager, Song? Someone knows him. The door swings open to reveal him. And well, this is certainly an awkward office reunion. They head to the break room for some story time, where Sona tells him what happened on her end. Apparently, someone was pounding on her door last night, but she trusted her gut, kept it locked, and made the smart choice. He realized she was all alone, broke in, and she ran to hide in here, the break room. Before even an hour had passed, the guy had already become a zombie, which is pretty fast for someone to turn undead. And just like that, the zombie Janong was gone, killed by that same guy, and the mess was finally cleaned up. Jin Tong asks the crucial question about having a weapon and points directly to the wooden spear waiting in the corner. He leans in to get a better look and sees it's a mop handle, the kind she sharpened with a box cutter, showing just how resourceful she is. She picks it up with a proud little smile, says that it's surprisingly useful, and I bet it is. Jinong sees the blood on the tip and realizes she's already tested it, so he decides never to mess with Sayona. But our clever hero instantly thinks to himself that being a woman is a huge disadvantage in this world. Seriously, dude. He's scared she'll become a target for zombies and other survivors, just like you saw with that bloody spear. So he decides the risk is too great and tries to pull back, but I better head off now. What a hero. She refuses to accept it, snatches his arm, and asks, "Are you leaving?" She asks, and you can hear the panic in her voice. She pleads with him to stay, telling him she can't manage it by herself, and the terror in her eyes is absolutely real. He genuinely apologizes and pulls his arm away to leave her, while the cold-blooded Jinsong just remains heartless. But then she drops a truth so shocking it freezes him in his tracks. I used to fence, but now he is totally confused while she doubles down, claiming she cleared this entire floor of zombies by herself. She warns that you'll regret leaving her behind, her eyes sharp enough to cut steel, and I know it will happen. Janong is completely shocked to see that this co-worker isn't the helpless one he was about to leave behind. She mentions winning a silver medal in high school, which instantly makes her a keeper and gets him to agree to team up. Having just formed their alliance, she hands him a backpack filled with the best treasures she'd already gathered. Janong asked about power banks, and she seemed to wonder why. There's no electricity, they said, but she was still missing the bigger picture. He describes the satellite internet, and her eyes sparkle, suddenly turning power banks into the most prized treasure in the game. He has to ask how many zombies she actually killed, and she just calmly says, 8. Yours makes 9. What a legend. 8 zombies! Janong was amazed and glad he had stuck with his powerful new partner. They only find 2 power banks, but it's better than nothing. With their bags packed and Sayona eager to go, Jin suddenly stops in his tracks, points out something he's seen, and asks, wait a minute. He turns his light onto the strange marks on the wall and asks her what they mean. She thought it was the zombie from yesterday, trying to crash through the door with a heavy desk or something. But Jeans knows there's more to it, so his detective instincts prick him alive as he scans the room and spots the real weapon, a big, heavy chunk of metal resting on a desk. He snatches the tool up with a wide grin, treating the simple metal ruler like his most perfect weapon. Our boy is beaming with joy because he finally found a super tough chunk of metal that makes his golf club look like a toy. Cian, the practical one, gently pointed out that it's a bit too short, and she was right because having enough range really matters. But then she wears a secret, confident smile and says, I've got a plan. Oh, I love where this is going, before unveiling her amazing creation with a grand tada. It's basically just a pole with a caliper taped to the end. She asks if it's any good, and since Jin Sang can't lie, he admits it's awesome, realizing he can use it as a spear to stab or a giant caliper to poke, making Sayona proud of her investment, while Jin Sang finally understands that having a partner isn't just for fighting zombies, but also for finding cool loot. And with all their snacks piled together, they won't go hungry anytime soon. While he sorts through their stolen goods and pulls out a frying pan, wondering where such a thing came from, Sana gets embarrassed because she actually brought it to work hoping for a refund since she didn't like the color. But Jin Song just smiles, saying it's perfect for melting snow to drink, leaving her horrified that her fashion crime has become a survival tool. Sayona changes the topic by asking how he found her in the break room so quickly. He claims he got a tip from the building across the street, but she has no clue what he's talking about. Jin Sang said that people back there were flashing lights and waving signs to invite us to join their team. The notes simply said, Hi, we're on the 6th and 7th floors, let's be friends, but Cyan A's spidey senses were buzzing, making him wonder if this was really a good idea. Janong knows jumping into a zombie outbreak with strangers is nothing less than a giant gamble that could easily go wrong. She gets nervous and confesses that she only joined forces with him because he seemed like the least likely person to betray her. She declared that she wouldn't invite just anyone to the party because she was being picky, and Janong immediately agreed, so they decided to simply ghost the person without any further hassle. She thanks him for listening before dropping a huge surprise. The manager is actually still alive. Janong is absolutely shocked to discover that Manager Choi was actually stuck on the 6th floor with her on her first day before she managed to get away. She admits she was hiding in the break room while Choi screamed from the bathroom, but she stayed frozen in fear and couldn't do anything to help. Janong asks when Choi left and guesses it was the 2nd day, which makes his brain race with new ideas. He's already swept the 4th, 2nd, and 1st floors, which means Choi must be hiding on either the 3rd or 5th floor. Now that the smart thinking starts, what if those neighbors join forces with Manager Choi to form a super team and hunt them down? He shakes it off and chooses not to worry about things he can't change, which is a smart move, buddy. On top of that, they have a surprise, a new coin that finally lets them buy real cold weather gear from the shop. He opens the gear menu and wishes for a warm hat, seeing that the shop sells one along with some boots for 3 coins each. But his shopping trip stops dead when he spots Sina's feet, because my friend, she's still wearing flimsy office heels in a blizzard. His logic kicks in. If her feet freeze, she'll become dead weight. So clearly, treating her to the boots is the cleverest move we can make. Just as he's about to be struck, he halts because his hands are trembling so badly he can't move. He sighs, feeling like a total jerk because all he can think about is how freezing cold he is. So he decides to wait because things aren't moving yet, but these might well be his last words before disaster strikes. The next morning, Sayona is already awake and scrolling through her phone. As Janong wakes up, she checks to see how his battery is holding up. Oh, you're awake? She asks. Well, he just grumbles that he'll never get used to this freezing cold. She asks if he charged the power banks, and he says he brought all of them, but her phone is already down to 22%. Then she catches his eye and says, Hey, I was just thinking about it, and I think there's a solar generator on the roof, leaving Jin Sang completely stunned as he asks, "We actually have one of those." She nods, revealing she was actually the one in charge of the installation project. They placed it on the roof just before the entire project was canceled due to a mistake. Jin Sung asked what the trouble was, and she replied that it wasn't dangerous, just a test model. But here's the big question. Does she know how to use it? She says, "Yeah, duh. I was in charge," and a huge, determined smile spreads across Janong's face as he says, "All right, let's go take a look." So they have to force open a door that is completely blocked by snow. After Shauna yells, "It opened." They both pant hard from the struggle, and Jin Sang can't believe that just one door took them out of breath. They look up and spot the next challenge waiting for them. Janong spots a short ladder that will help him climb up the wall. He yanks on the handle, but it's frozen tight, so sure and is simply shrug and say, "Looks like we're climbing," to which Janong asks if she can even try, only for her to turn to him with fierce determination and say, "I'll go. Just give me a boost." So, on 3, he gives her a boost and hurls her straight up into the air. "I got it," she yells, grabbing the ledge, and Janong watches her pull herself up like a cat as her old, athletic skills finally shine. She lands on the roof and begins brushing the snow off a large, dark panel. "Yes," she shouts, having found the solar generator. She tells Janong that the object isn't too big and that she will dismantle it and lower it down from the catch. So she sends each panel down one by one while Janong waits below to catch them. They finally put together 4 panels and spread them all out on the floor inside. They're both wiped out, but so glad it's over, as Siona sighs, "Phew, that was tough." Siona cracks a satisfied smile, and with that, the installation is done. She wants it outside, but Junong fears the bright snow will bounce too much light back, while the clouds might block its power. Sienna recalls that on a bright, sunny day, the phone would have charged up to half its power in just a couple of hours, but right now, the sun is almost completely gone. So all they can do is wait until the screen flares to life, showing just 1% of power as they begin to charge. The next day, Jin Song and Sienna huddle around the phone with their hearts pounding, only to have their hopes crushed when they see the battery has barely crawled from 9% to a pathetic 17% in a full day. Siona lets out a defeated sigh, wishing she had more energy after yesterday's hard work, because her solar battery is stuck at just 8%. Jinong looks just as sad as he feels, staring down at his phone. He says there's nothing we can do while the sun stays hidden. But he steps up to play the hero, promising her there's a new hope, and our boy has finally figured out their next move. He whispers that he has a plan for where they'll run to once they finally escape this dull office. He spreads out his big plan, leading them toward the company's warehouse where he's certain they'll find plenty of food and tools to help them survive. Siona jumps in right away, but Janong quickly reminds everyone that the real challenge is just getting there. He frets that his car won't start and his dying phone won't hold up for navigation, so they might have to draw a map like cave people, but Sina just slaps him with the confidence that it's not a problem and tells him to get moving. Jean spins around, totally confused by her sureness, wondering just what secret she might be hiding. She tells me the company warehouse is just a stone's throw from her home, a spot she used to pass daily while walking her dog, making this find a real stroke of luck. Janong's face lit up with pure joy as he shouted, "I'm so glad I met you, Sion," proving that having a goal really gives him a boost. He decides to team up with her because she's smart, useful, hasn't stolen his magical boots, and honestly, the bar is pretty low. He shouts her name, and then, from out of nowhere, asks for her shoe size in a way that feels oddly smooth. Her surprise at his random question makes him snap, and he quickly invents a lie about seeing boots he might grab for her. He recalls her saying she wasn't cold on the roof, but her answer came with a bright smile, and her shoe size is 230. He feels a huge weight off his shoulders that she doesn't suspect his strange acting, yet when she offers to walk with him, he quickly turns down the offer. "No, I'll handle it myself," he says before sprinting away like a total weirdo, which honestly seems totally normal. He jumps into the Apocalypse shop and buys her a pair of white fur-lined boots, and when she tries them on, they fit her perfectly. Suddenly, a glowing blue window appears before him, declaring a party is formed, but he can't help but wonder, wait a minute, this is a role-playing game? He stands frozen in shock as the window reveals a secret treasure. Every coin the party collects belongs to him, making him a master of effortless riches. He wonders if giving her that item triggered this event, and if it did, he's found a way to use it to grind for serious rewards. Siona, not noticing the floating screen at all, just happily thanks him, and he realizes he might be able to make the party even bigger. His mind was spinning with all the possible moves, until Sina's voice suddenly pulled him out of his gaming daydream. She asks if he's okay with a worried look, and he claims it's just dizziness from hunger, a story that sounds too much like a lie. She offers to get some food, and he pretends not to notice that she can't see the system window at all. 3 days passed, and on the 14th day, with no water left, Janong licked his dry, cracked lips and whispered, "I'm so thirsty." So they had to start melting snow to survive. She gathers paper for the fire while he insists they build it on the snowy rooftop to keep the rest of the place safe. And there they stand ready to light a fire inside a metal box. Janong knows this is a huge risk because the smoke might just act as a dinner bell for the violent gangs that roam the city. He didn't want to wake the neighbors, but he was so thirsty he didn't care anymore. The fire flares up instantly, and oh, that warmth is such a huge relief against the freezing cold. Cyan's eyes drink in the scene as she beams. This warmth makes me feel like I can finally live. But then she remembers why they are up there, the water, so she grabs a pan, fills it with snow, and places it over the fire. Eventually, the snow melts and the water boils, meaning the mission is a success. They drank the warm water with great eagerness. Janong can't believe how long it's been since he had a sip of something warm. Sienna feels it too, tears welling up as she realizes she had almost forgotten that such warmth could still exist. Sitting by the fire, they share a rare moment of peace, and Janong says, "I am glad we did not give up. Let's see it through to the end," he decides as they watch the quiet, snowy night, knowing that this perfect moment won't last long. And by the time the next morning of Survival Day 15 arrives, Sean is urgently shaking Janong awake to tell her that it's all over, leaving her staring at him in total confusion. "What's wrong?" he asks, clutching his blanket just like a scared baby. "Over there," she says, pointing to the window. "They sent us a message." Janong instantly panics and tells him their neighbors are coming over to visit. The message from the building next door said, "We're coming to join you," which made Janong jump up in a panic before Sona explained she'd seen it and woke him. She thinks they saw the bonfire on her roof last night, so they're rushing toward the door right now. This is his worst nightmare, because he has no clue if those people are friendly survivors or just violent thieves hunting for loot. Suddenly, Siona screams, "Depew manager, over there!" as 3 figures in winter gear, one dragging a giant sledgehammer, trudge through the snow straight for them. Jinsong and Siona froze in terror as the welcoming committee finally stepped through the door. As the thieves rush off, our heroes quickly grab their things and flee before it's too late. Outside, a group rushes in and slashes through the undead with scary speed. Jeans watches from the window and realizes these guys are moving way faster than he expected, proving they aren't messing around. They aren't just surviving, they're fighting like a well-oiled machine, and that is terrifying. Janong quickly does the math and realizes they have just 10 minutes before these guys reach the door, maybe 15 at the most. He quickly slings his backpack on and declares he's ready, then turns to Sienna to ask if she is, since the pressure is on. Sona zips up her huge duffel bag, declaring she's nearly done and it's time to run. Just as the bandits are about to strike, they're about to run right into a horde of the dead. What looked like a clear path suddenly gets flooded with zombies pouring in from the streets, turning it into a zombie traffic jam. The group freezes in place, staring in shock at the huge wall of zombies blocking their way, which makes things very inconvenient. The leader doesn't pause for a beat, so don't even think about it, just start running. They sprint wildly to the nearest safe haven, which turns out to be Jin Singh's office building. The man carrying the sledgehammer rushes to the glass doors first, ready to smash his way inside. With a loud crash, he smashes the glass to make a brand new, very unwelcome doorway for his team. Boom! The glass breaks, and the invaders have made it into the lobby. Jinsong, watching from the floor above, isn't happy about it. He quickly turns to Sana to see if she's ready. But even though she has everything packed, a tiny problem is waiting. The problem is the solar panels, so Jin says they'll have to leave them behind. Sana argues for their strength, but Jinsong cuts through with a simple truth. If you want to live, you have to follow the rules. She doesn't like it, but she'll go along with it anyway. With one final, heartbroken glance at their power source, they finally set off. Suddenly, a loud boom crashes from the stairs as the attackers smash their way onto our floor. Janong tightens his grip on his weapon and points out that they're trapped as the attackers arrive, forcing them to choose between fleeing to the rooftop or dropping down to a lower floor. Janong quickly decides that while the roof is a strong position, the freezing cold will hurt them in a long fight, so he orders everyone to head back down for now. Their new plan is to rush up to the 6th floor, seal the doors, and make their stand there. As they drop down, they hear loud, heavy footsteps coming from below, and someone says, "Oh, great. Get ready," Janong warns, pausing on the stairs to listen closely for the threat coming their way. And just like that, the bad guys arrive, a trio of tough folks, fully armed and ready to fight. Our boy Janong grips his spear so hard his knuckles turn white, his narrowed eyes locked on the enemy as he goes all out. The footsteps grow louder, and Sienna whispers that they're almost here, causing a light bulb to click on as they pause to check for other survivors. And she's right. The invaders are methodically clearing out the empty office floor by floor. After cleaning out the 4th floor, they head up to the 5th. Janong tightens his muscles, bracing himself for the battle that's about to begin. Then, the footsteps just stop, leaving only a dead silence. They just stare at each other, baffled by why neither of them is moving up. Sina gets that familiar bad feeling because something is wrong, and then kaboom, a huge explosion from below shakes the whole building. They crash down in a cloud of debris, and Janong rushes to her side to make sure she's okay. Though they're both shaken, they're okay and think it was probably just a bomb. But wait, that makes no sense at all. Why blow everything up when there are only 2 of them? It's just too much. Then it strikes him. He recalls that eerie note he stumbled upon earlier. I'd really warn you to stay away from the 5th floor. He also recalls C mentioning that their crazy old boss, Chief Choi, was likely hiding away on the 3rd or 5th floor. No way, he whispers as horror spreads across his face. He decides in a split second to head down and check, but Shuna is like right now? Are you crazy? Yes, he says. He confirms with a serious look, likely leaving us guessing with his dramatic flair once again. So they carefully sneak down to the 5th floor, right into the danger zone. And my friend, the place is a total wreck, with rubble and shattered glass everywhere, leaving Sienna unable to believe her eyes. Janong warns her to keep her wits about and never let her guard down, but then she suddenly stops dead in her tracks. The assistant manager stammers and points into the darkness. Janang's eyes go wide as he sees the 2 bloody invaders lying dead on the floor. He tells her to stay back while he checks things out, but something feels wrong because there are only 2 of them. He looks around, sees nothing but clean air, and right then he spots it. A door just nearby has been blown right off its hinges. He was yelling at the mess until suddenly he heard a man groaning from inside the wrecked room. The voice says, "It hurts, right? I knew it would." And Jin Sung knows it's Chief Choi. The 3rd invader lies broken on the ground with his feet destroyed, while Choi stands tall above him, muttering to himself. Choi looks up in surprise, then twists his face into a scary grin as assistant manager Song reaches out a bloody hand to call his name, proving he's a walking red flag while Jin Song freezes in shock as Chief Choi crawls toward him, pathetically begging for help. Then Jin sees it. The chief's leg is crushed, and the man is screaming, "Save me. Please, it's not fair, I don't want to die," while a bright trail of blood follows him. And our hero just stands there, frozen in terror, and honestly, no one could blame him for it. Siona finally catches up and asks if that's Chief Choi. She speaks for a moment before stopping dead in her tracks, her voice fading as she takes in the terrifying sight before her. Choi spots her, but before he can say a word, Janong silences him with a chill that feels like freezing ice. "I'm sorry, Chief, but we have no medicine and aren't doctors, so that's an absolute no." You can see the desperation in Choi's eyes twist into pure madness as he screams, "I said I want to live." Then a terrible thought strikes him, and he shouts, "I have a way to stay alive," while staring straight at them. "Get ready for this, folks," he asks. "Because if I turn into a zombie, I won't die, right? I held off the raiders for you, and you can't even do this for me," he yelled while flinging mud at them, accusing them of wanting him dead just so they could get together, which was pretty classy. His voice turns vicious, so he dares us all to die together, spits out his final trump card, and reveals that one last bomb remains. But before he could do anything else, Senyana's spear slams down, leaving him stuck and bleeding out while the chief just glares and whispers one final curse before he dies. Well, that settles it. It turns out those invaders were just a bunch of small-time thieves looking for stolen goods. Cyan A pulls out a bag that is completely empty, proving that their big score was just a dream. To make things even worse, their shield is broken and the sledgehammer is far too heavy to lift. Jin Song's face tells the whole story. He is having a terrible day. Siona still feels the fight's shock, but Jin Sang switches to his cold, practical self, telling her that the raiders were bad guys from the beginning and that Sana actually saved manager Choi from a slow, painful death, so there's no reason for her to feel guilty. You can see the truth in Siona's eyes, but she quickly becomes serious and agrees with him, knowing this is for real. Right when you think things can't get worse, Siona sees something through the broken window. She's so terrified she can barely speak, just pointing him to look, so Janong leans in to see what's making her so scared. His reaction tells the whole story. He mutters that this is crazy because the street below has turned into a sea of zombies, a complete horde. A quick look at the survivor forums shows they were right to be scared because that explosion just rang like dinner and pulled every zombie in the district right toward them. Suddenly, their safe house turned into the town's deadliest spot, pushing Ginseng to the edge as zombies and hungry raiders rush toward the chaos. They watch from high above as the crowd slowly thins out, yet so many are still lingering around that the lobby is now strictly off-limits. Janong makes the call and says they have to leave by tomorrow or the day after at the latest. But first, he grabs a flashlight and insists they sneak downstairs to see what's happening on the first floor. As they creep down the stairs, Sayona grabbed him and whispered, "Wait, don't you hear that?" Which is just like the classic horror movie scene everyone loves. Then, right on cue bang, a loud noise echoes from a floor above them, proving trouble has found them in a place they never expected. They peek through the doorway and see the source. A single zombie, soaked in blood, slowly shambling around the office, which is truly creepy. Sona is so stunned that her mind leaps straight to a terrifying thought. Could that be Manager Choi? But Jin Song quickly shuts that idea down, explaining that since Choi's brain was still working, he couldn't possibly be a zombie. He also crosses Bitten Raider off the list because the timeline doesn't add up, since any of them would have turned long before they got back. So, we're left with two possibilities. Either someone else escaped to the third floor and got away, or something crawled into the broken window on the fifth floor. Their argument is suddenly interrupted by the funny sight of a zombie eating a corpse, so they decide to drop the talk and keep walking. It turns out the first floor is a complete mess, packed wall-to-wall with zombies who never paid a cent for their entry. The chaos makes Janong remember the paranoid survivor, Assistant Manager Cho Jong, who was hiding in the security room. He figured that if anyone else was still trapped inside, they'd be the first to hear about this zombie party, and trying to leave through the main door would mean instant death. Suddenly, Sienna has a brilliant idea. The underground parking garage, so Janong immediately agrees it's their best chance to escape. He recalls the clear skies from their last check, so he heads downstairs to quickly count any new undead neighbors. You'll never believe what I saw. Only about 10 zombies wandering around. It turns the crowded lobby mosh pit into something much better. Janong began to lay out a plan to use the cars as cover, relying on a fun zombie fact that since there's no wind underground, the zombies wouldn't smell them coming. He spots a big round safety mirror and asks to use her sharp eyes to see what's hiding in the reflection. She squints with that familiar effort we all know to finally spot the door to the basement. The good news is that the path below is clear with just as many zombies down there as there were right now. That's enough, Janong says, actually cracking a smile, as they're ready to climb back up and get ready for their big getaway. Back at their base, they lock in their plan. Since the freezing cold has drained the batteries, the car won't start, so the group will have to take a long walk. They crowd around a notebook, acting like they're plotting a dragon-filled adventure as they figure out the safest way to walk. Meanwhile, the cold outside has settled to a chilly minus 35 degrees Celsius, and with just 5 hours left, their survival kits are packed and waiting right by the door. While they try to rest, Sayona asks Ginseng if he's asleep, and he admits he was tossing and turning all night because she caught him. And of course, she knows exactly why he can't sleep. So when she asks if it's because of the person on the first floor and Jinshin confirms, Sayona drops a bombshell by telling him he can bring them along with them, leaving him stunned as he protests that bringing a stranger would put them both in danger. With her gut feeling that they seem trustworthy, Sayona is ready to take the risk, and Jim Song thinks maybe it's time to go along with her. He asks her if she's really okay with a third wheel joining their survival group, and without a second's thought, she says yes. So Jin Sang stands up, pulls out his phone, turns on a flashlight, and gets to work. He apologizes for the blinding light, but Sayona just smiles warmly and says it's perfectly fine. Jeans starts typing and sends a message to the Survivor Forum, directly inviting Assistant Manager Choi Young to join their escape. The next morning broke on day 17 of the apocalypse, and at 5:40 a.m., our two survivors were fully geared up and ready to move out. He glances at the forum post hoping for a reply, but finds only a few confused comments from strangers. He's upset about the lack of radio contact, but he isn't giving up just yet, figuring the other guy is probably just waiting at the meeting spot. With their plan in place, they carefully make their way down the dark, grimy stairs, one floor at a time. They reach the first floor emergency exit to find the landing deserted, and Jin simply states the obvious fact that no one is there. Sana notes they're only 3 minutes late and suggests waiting a bit more, still holding on to hope. The cold, quiet stairs feel endless as the minutes slip away. His phone's clock flashes 6:05 a.m. It seems Crow G's Sunsung has officially skipped the show, which is a real letdown. Well, that's all there is for backup, since Crow Young didn't show up and left Jinsung feeling a bit let down that his buddy bailed on him. Right as they're about to go, Sayona suddenly sees a bloody zombie that wasn't there just a moment before. Janong made it official, so we're switching plan because sneaking past this one guy is a lost cause. Sayona remembers a key tip from the chat rooms. The zombies just keep walking in the same circles all day long. Clutching that important tip from the internet, they slip into their parked cars and creep forward, using the vehicles to hide from anyone watching. They slip silently up to the black car, getting closer to their target who doesn't know he's already dead. They exchange that silent, determined look you know so well, signaling it is absolutely time to go. Janong steps out and purposely kicks something on the ground. And it works. The zombie snaps its head with a creak, locking those dead eyes right on him. With a terrifying screech, it goes straight ahead at full speed with no chance to stop. But our boy Janong isn't even sweating. He just stands there with a confident smirk, acting like he's done this 1,000 times before. Suddenly, bam, she thrusts her spear right through its skull, taking it down in a single strike. A system alert flashed up as Sona's kill dropped a coin, reminding us that party loot is still a win and teamwork makes the victory real. Jinong gives her a big thumbs up, and she actually cracks a little smile, proving she's a natural at surviving this apocalypse. With that zombie down, they keep moving and finally get out of the scary parking garage. They finally spot the sunlight, but their joy barely lasts 2 seconds before the freezing cold hits them hard. Jinong knows they'll freeze into human popsicles if they stay out here, so he grabs her hand, tells her to move, and heads to the lovely frozen river at Shangri-chan for a romantic walk. Siona shares an old zombie secret. They can't climb stairs, so they start shuffling slowly to stay quiet. After a few minutes, Siona shouts that they're moving too slowly, but Jeans is glad they aren't fighting, and then they finally see their goal, a sunken walkway by the stream. Oh, but there's just one tiny problem. A massive swarm of zombies is chilling right next door by the police station. They take careful steps forward, watching the gap between them shrink second by second. Only 30 meters away, at 22 seconds and 17, we're almost there, folks. Almost there. Just as they reached Q, the wind suddenly grew fierce, howling around them like a blizzard, and things looked very bad. Jinsong's eyes go wide as he realizes the wind is carrying their fresh human scent straight to the zombie police department. At the station, a zombie cop suddenly lifts his head, sniffs the air, and wonders if the smell is lunch. Yep, they've been spotted, and in a heartbeat the whole horde spins around and charges straight for them, dinner served. Siona is freaking out, but Janong's mind is racing as he sees their clever stair trick is actually a death trap. But if zombies can't walk downstairs, what keeps them from just tumbling down like a pile of rotting clothes? That noise would be like a dinner bell for every zombie within a meter. So the new plan is to rush inside a building right now, though it's hard to imagine where they could possibly go since every shop with a broken window is already an all-you-can-eat zombie buffet. Crashing through the sealed doors would be like ringing the dinner bell, summoning the horde right to their front door. Then Sana, the queen of spotting things, points left to a bus, and it turns out to be brilliant. They rush to the bus and yank the doors, but they're locked tight, so Jeans prepares to smash the glass until Siona stops him and points inside. My friend, remember the key is still in the ignition. Janong grabs the handle of his weapon and pries the door open, knowing there is no time to waste. Hurry, he shouts, for the welcome party is right on their heels. He jumps in right after her, yanks the door lever to slam it shut, but it only sticks halfway. This is terrible because if things keep going like this, the zombies will smash right through. Janong jumps into the driver's seat and fumbles desperately with the controls, but nothing happens at all. He knows that flimsy little door won't hold for long. The passengers are practically shouting for the bus to move. Suddenly, the bus lurches forward. Siona whirls around just as a zombie slams its face hard against the window right beside her, and she is absolutely terrified. Jinsung was grinding his teeth, so hard they might snap because the engine just wouldn't start. Cyan screams as a zombie squeezes through the door, but Sean doesn't wait and thrusts her spear right through the opening, skewering the zombie in the neck. Get out of here, she yells, kicking the dead zombie off the bus and cheering the girl on, but the bus is still stuck and shaking while the crowd pounds on it, putting our heroes on the edge of losing it. Then, a new sound breaks the chaos, the deep, final rumble of the engine roaring to life. Jinsong's eyes flash with pure determination. It's time to floor it and turn those zombies into roadkill. That's all for this recap, so hit the subscribe button to help us keep making awesome stuff, and see you in the next one.